What was the scariest "we need to leave now" gut feeling that you've ever experienced? Full story plus 5 updates. I recently gave birth to twin girls. I had kept this a secret from my family to surprise them. A month before I gave birth, my sister's child tragically passed away from SIDS, and my family mourned the loss of the baby. When I gave birth, my whole family visited me, except for my sister and her husband. I understood because they were still grieving. News quickly spread that I had given birth to twins. My sister visited with her in-laws. Her mother-in-law immediately said that God had sent another baby for my sister, claiming one of my twins was a reincarnation of their lost child. I firmly told them that both babies were mine. They held my twins and looked at each other, convinced that one of them was indeed their lost baby. My husband quickly took our babies and kicked them out. Later that day, my mother visited and insisted I should give one of my twins to my sister because she was mourning. I refused, told her they are mine. The next morning, we saw on our Ring camera her mother-in-law was standing in front of our door at 3 a.m. praying. It sent chills down my spine. I threatened them to leave us alone. Every day for 1 week, a dead bird that was gutted is on our porch, and a red-colored stained the sides of our home. My husband and I knew right then we have to leave. My husband called the police and said, "They cannot do anything, as somebody might be just playing with us." The red stain on the wall and our door was an animal's blood. They offered to file for a restraining order once we figured who did it. My husband was eager and knew who it was after we reviewed the footage of our Ring camera. I told him not to since it's my sister's in-laws, and maybe talking to them will sort this out. I don't believe in this kind of arrangement, but I was wrong. After her mother-in-law's visit, I told my sister about her weird behavior, and it did scare us. I'm not sure if she ever said anything, but her mother-in-law kept coming back at exactly 3 a.m., praying. She would stay on the porch standing whispering while her head tilted. My sister then told me that I shouldn't keep my own kids from her, and that she should feel bad because she lost her child. She went on telling me what I would feel if I lost a child. She had been the favorite child, and she gets everything all the time, and it's just one time where things didn't favor her. After my sister terrorized me every day, sending me thousands of messages and emails. One morning, we found a dead bird on our porch, gutted as if someone had intentionally it. It went on for a week. I called my sister and told her that if her mother-in-law visited again, we would call the police. My sister never replied. A few days later, everyone, including me, my twins, and my husband, started to get really sick. I felt like somebody had done something to us, and I suspected it was her mother-in-law. My mother came to stay and help since we had been so sick. Not only that, my husband got into a car accident where someone rear-ended him on the freeway, destroying our car. Thankfully, my husband wasn't seriously injured. The second one we were lucky enough because we had our kids in the back. With my husband's quick reflexes, he was able to avoid the car on his right, which collided with a car in front of us, hitting another car which resulted in 2 casualties. One day I let my mother visit me to help with the chores. Same evening, my husband came home from work and woke me up, showing me footage from the Ring camera. While I was resting, my mother had let my sister and her husband into our home. My sister then took one of the twins, cradled her, and even breastfed her. They took family photos with my baby. I was alarmed and furious. I didn't hesitate to file a restraining order against my sister, her husband, and my mother. Not only that, but I also discovered my mother had put a sleeping pill in my soup after my husband right before taking the trash out. Saw the box which explains how I was knocked out for 8 hours. I started to get really scared because they were doing everything they could to get my child. My husband decided we needed to leave our home and move somewhere else. We didn't stay for long and moved out, placing our things in storage temporarily and living in a hotel, which felt more secure. My husband found a home 45 minutes away from everyone. We were discreet and tried our best to ensure no one could track us. After we moved, on the very first night, we saw her mother-in-law again in front of our new home. I was so scared and cried because her behavior was disturbing and honestly feeling helpless. I filed for a restraining order against her. We informed our landlord and they allowed us to move without losing our deposit, letting us break our lease. We moved 3 times within a year, and the same thing kept happening. My husband then moved us to an expensive but secure apartment. We made sure the condo was safe, with only approved guests allowed to visit us. 2 months went by, and we lived peacefully until we learned that my sister's husband had applied to work at our apartment complex and had sneaked up to our floor. He left a note on our door saying they wanted to see the baby. We reported them to the management, fearing for our safety. They eventually fired him because of the restraining order against him. My husband and I were exhausted. There were instances that whenever we were out, somebody was following us. All of these were happening before our twin girls even turned 1. Imagine the exhaustion we went through, moving from house to house because our family wanted our child. My husband and I decided to move abroad and live in hiding. We hadn't returned to the States for 5 years, thinking they had left us alone. We decided to move back because my husband got a great offer and promotion. We lived in a condominium close to his work. Honestly, I had never been so scared in my life, having to run away with babies less than a year old. Update 1. We discovered that my sister's mother-in-law had been convicted of husband 10 years ago. They also saw a shocking discovery that she had a room filled with candles and pictures of people she was praying for, or I'd say putting spells or black magic. One of the photos on our wall was me and my husband. That explains our sudden sickness and the car accidents. My husband and I have no plans to see or talk to my family ever again. I decided to leave my family behind for the sake of our daughters. Despite the fear and trauma, we've managed to rebuild our lives. Never in my life could I imagine this would happen or this to happen to anyone. The amount of sick people will do to get what they want is astounding, and for my case, it was my own family. I can't even trust my own. Update 2. To answer the top question, where is my sister and her husband now? The last thing I heard about her was that they tried to get pregnant again, which resulted to miscarriage. My sister suffered from a serious mental disorder. My mom wanted to reconcile with me and apologized for what she did and promised to not do it again. I didn't buy her words and just cut her off. Update 3. Somebody told my sister our whereabouts, but she was too late. She flew all the way to Australia, thinking we were there, but we moved back a long time ago. A relative told me that she is still looking for us. My cousin, who I can trust my life with, kept feeding my sister wrong addresses and countries to travel until she gets exhausted. Took her 4 countries to stop looking for us. Honestly, if she ever succeeds in finding us, I am ready to confront her and protect my family. I'll take her out when she steps on my property. Update 4. Yes, my sister actually tried to sue us. Remember when I told you about my mother letting my sister and her husband into our home after me, causing me to sleep for 8 hours? Well, my sister and her husband didn't stop there. They took it to another level and tried to sue us, claiming we had stolen their baby, my baby. They showed the court photos of her holding my baby, taken in our home. They even went as far as stealing my baby's birth certificate and forging it to support their insane claims. My mother cited my sister and testified saying my daughter is my sister's child, but the court didn't buy it. My delivery doctor and nurse testified, confirming the truth. During the hearing, my sister had a complete breakdown, screaming that my baby was hers and that I didn't deserve my children. It was a dramatic and terrifying moment that left everyone in the courtroom shocked. Update 5. After everything that happened, my husband and I decided to leave the States for good. We realized we would be safer if we left. I want my family to live in peace and be protected without my crazy sister chasing us. This has been the most exhausting experience of my life. Thank you everyone for your support. I appreciate all the tips and suggestions and will definitely keep them in mind.